Okay, hello everyone. So this is another video that I wanted to make for you guys about a lesson I did. I did this just today and it worked pretty well, so I'm gonna share it with you guys. So the lesson is for elementary grade 5 and it's using the Hi Friends 1 textbook, and the lesson is lesson 3, How Many? And basically how I went about this lesson was the first thing I did was a greeting. So it's my good morning, how are you? And then the students can say, good morning, I'm sleepy, I'm hungry, or whatever. And immediately after that, the students were still standing because they stand for their greeting. I got them to walk around and ask 3 people, how are you? So this is literally the previous lesson was, okay, so the first one is hello. And then lesson 2 is I'm happy and how are you, basically. So it was kind of like a warm-up to do with the previous lesson to kind of review. So anyways, immediately after that, I started the new grammar. So as they were walking around asking people, how are you, I wrote how many on the board. And then, like, I didn't have any of this down. It was just how many. Whoop. Anyways, so I asked the students to translate this for me. I was like, hey, so what's this? And then the students would either get it or they wouldn't. And if they didn't, then the teacher and I would try and coach them into figuring out what how many is. So for an example, the teacher would ask me, how many soccer balls? And I would say, one soccer ball. And then the teacher would grab 2, and she would ask, how many soccer balls? And I would say, two soccer balls. And then the kids would probably, or they usually got it by then, and then they would translate it to Japanese, and then after I would get them to repeat me in English, how many? So they would repeat me, say how many, and then we'd repeat it a few times. And then I had big giant flashcards that were about the size of a regular piece of paper that had numbers on them. So I would go through them with the kids, and I'd get them, the first time I would get them to repeat me 2 times, and then I'd stick the number on the board. So repeat me 2 times and I would stick the number on the board. And then same all the way 1 to 10. And then after that, I would do the same with 11 to 20. So I would only do it from 1 to 10. I'd get them to repeat me a few times and then say it on their own once. And then I'd get them to do 11 to 20 with me and then on their own. So after we practiced this, the next thing I would do is I would get the students to count themselves. So the way that they were sitting at their desk, it was like your typical, I'm just going to do like a side square here. So these are the desks. It's like your typical classroom setup, linear style, grid style. Here's the teacher desk. So what I got them to do was this student would say 1, this student would say 2, this student would say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we'd end up having everyone count the entire classroom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we usually got up to about 24 to 25 today. So we helped the kids get past 20. So there were some students who were a lot more confident in counting, and they were the ones helping the last set of students do the last numbers. It's interesting because I found that the numbers 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 were much easier for the students to learn than 11 to 20 were, because these ones are a little bit wonky, especially like for 15 in particular, they wanted to say 5-teen. So that's one thing that we had to practice, was like the pronunciation of the numbers. But otherwise, like, I wasn't too sticky on them about that. Okay, so after the students count themselves, we give everybody a clap because it's a good thing to accomplish. And then the next thing we do is, I wrote down some stuff, but I ended up not doing some of it. The next thing we did was play the guessing game. So basically, my predecessor, I found out she did this activity and it worked really well for her, so I thought I'd give it a try, and it worked really well for me too. So I'm glad that she told me about it. But basically you just have a jar or cup or anything see-through with something inside of it. I just happen to have these bows that I never got rid of for Christmas, so I thought I'd use them, and it makes it a little bit more interesting to try and count them, because you can see different colors and it's all shiny, and it's harder to tell where one bow ends and one begins, right? So it's the perfect item. So the first thing I would do is I'd pull one out, and I would ask this, or I'd tell the students, this is a bow. And they'd be like, okay. So then I'd put it back in here. I'd close the lid, and then I would show this see-through cylinder to the kids in a very particular way that made it like kind of interesting for them to try and guess. So what I would do is I would shake it, and then I would spin it like this. And I would spin it for about 10 seconds. And then when I was done, I would shake it so they all kind of go down like that. And then I'd stick it on the board, and then I would say, okay, how many? So we grouped the students into four people, one group. So then we made like 4 people, one group. And each group had a group number. So group 1, group 2, group 3, and so on. And then each group had to choose one number of how many bows they guessed were in the cylinder. So say this group was like 16, this one was like 25, this one could be 18, this could be 20, 22, or whatever. So then what we would do is count, like I would open this up, I'd pour it out on the desk in front of me, I'd have this container open, and then one by one I'd say, okay, let's count together. So then I'd drop this in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'd end up getting the number. And say group 2 was right, then what I would do is I would write, we would clap for them, and then I would draw like a little crown, and the crown is like the points or whatever. So I did this in 3 rounds. So this is the first round, and then the second round I would erase these bottom numbers, but I'd leave the crown for them, and then I would change the amount that's in the cylinder. I'd get them to close their eyes while I'm doing this. And then I would go like this. I'd be like, okay, how many? How many do you think is in here? And then the kids would do their guesses in their groups. And then they'd tell me, and I'd write the numbers on the board, and then I would give the crown to whoever was right. And if nobody was right, then we would just skip to the next round. So in total, I did this 3 times. And that seemed like a really appropriate amount of times to do this activity. And then the next activity that we did was coin collect rock, scissor, paper. So Japanese kids love rock, scissor, paper. They love it so much, and it's like ingrained into their heads so early. So this is the perfect lesson to deal with like counting and stuff, right? So these are just like paper hyakuens, 100 yens that I just printed off and then like copied and cut them out. So what I did was the first thing I did was I showed these sheets, and I asked them, what's this? And they usually would be like, oh, Jonkenpun, or however they say it. And then I would say, okay, good. So in English, it's rock, scissor, paper, 1, 2, 3. And then after the 3 is when you show your gesture, like your striking gesture. So the first thing I would do is get them to repeat each one. So I'd be like, repeat me, rock, rock, scissors, scissors, paper, paper, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we'd go together in one go. So I'd go rock, scissors, paper, 1, 2, 3. And then the kids can see who beat my gesture, which was like scissors or paper or whatever. So we did that a few times, and then once they were comfortable enough saying rock, scissors, paper, 1, 2, 3, then I would give each student, so there's no more groups anymore, so they'd return their desks, and then I'd give each student 4 coins or 5 coins or 3 coins. If there's more students, it's easier to have less coins. But anyway, so I gave each student 4 today, and then I got them to stand up and walk around and play rock, scissors, paper with as many people as they can within 5 minutes. And if they are the winner, they take a coin from the loser, and if they're a loser, they give a coin to the winner. And then after 5 minutes, they would count how many coins they have, and we would go through it as a class. I would ask how many, and then the kids would raise their hand. I'd say, okay, if you have 1 coin, raise your hand. If you have 2 coins, raise your hand. And then we go all the way through to 20, and then we'd congratulate the champion, and that would basically be it. So after that, I'd get everyone to sit down and pass back all the coins. Everybody had my cards, my understand cards. So I would ask them, did you understand this lesson? And if most of them were yes, I'd jump with joy. And then I had my exit greeting. I would say, thank you very much, everyone. You did a super good job today. And then, yeah, that's basically the lesson. So, yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!